Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle, Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live here on the International Public Radio and United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee who have had faith in us from the very beginning. So thank you, Folgers. It would not be the same without you being a part of our journey tonight and every night now. Here, moving forward, we have Dr. Snick, the voice and the music behind the intro and the outro for The Outer Realm. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, dark wave, electronic music. Check him out on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and most other streaming platforms. We thank him for his generous contribution to the show, and it is the season, being October, and let's face it, this is the best time to check out what he's got to offer. So in order to participate in tonight's show, head on over to our multiple platforms. We are on International Public Radio YouTube, UFO Paranormal Radio, and United Public Radio YouTube. That is where you're going to have to tag Amelia to be able to get an immediate response. We are also on Twitch, UFO Paranormal. We are News on the Flip Side, Facebook, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, UFO Paranormal, and United Public Radio Facebook. Of course, The Outer Realm on Facebook, and Canada's Most Haunted / Michelle Desrochers on Facebook. Did I get everything? Hey, Melanie, and hey, Zach. Yeah, you guys are first on board. Outstanding. So I was really looking forward to tonight because it's going to be a lot of fun. Kinda.
Talked about it enough as well. We've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and we're listening to the requests from the audience.
Yes, because we have sort of touched on it a little bit, and I think a lot of people have caught on and have had stories of their own to tell. So I'm hoping that they will chime in and give us their 2 cents or 5 cents worth, and as we go along.
I hope so too. It's always a lot of fun picking up conversations from the chat room. I love getting involved. I have like FOMO when I can't get there. So I'm really happy to be there. I hope you guys are all having a good day.
Hello. Chantel.
Hello from Canada. We're in Canada. Where are you?
I know. We just streamed through New Orleans.
There's my flag. There's my flag.
That's it.
My head was in the way. There you go.
There we go. Hey, Bradley. How are you?
Hi, Bradley. Another Canadian.
Another Canadian. I know.
Love it. I love it. I hope you
Zach,
guys had a great Thanksgiving.
Like the odd man out right now.
He's an honorary.
Yeah.
You're honorary. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. And of course, we have our Christmas stuff up in stores, and everybody's freaking out, saying, "Well,
what?
I know, but
I try not to frequent the stores this time of year because
I don't, but I've heard I don't. I'm terrible. Yeah. I'm very much online." Right. Northern Ontario, Timmins.
Ooh, I've been to Timmins,
we're in Southern.
Actually, I have been to Timmins,
home of Shania Twain.
That's right.
That's right.
It's an active little place too.
She's our Canadian gem.
I know.
Great, man. She's the only one that's not in the loony bin. One of the few. Just saying.
And hello, Steve.
Hi. Yes.
So we thought, because we are in the season, being October, and I have to say that because I think people who have a healthy curiosity about the paranormal, it's pretty much year round, but October seems to be a time where there are more tours being offered. Perhaps there are more locations opening up for tours. There are, or investigations. The fall really picks up. And, I know personally, not that it's any busier, 'cause I'm pretty much busy all the time. It's been like that for me for like many, many years. People are like, oh, we must be busy in October. I'm like, just with like appearances, not with cases, really. That's pretty much
Shows.
steady.
Shows.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, the shows. Yeah, the old Bigfoot hunter likes this. Ah, hey, Michael. But, I think that more people are, let's say, opened up. There are more locations for them to get themselves into potential trouble. And does it happen all the time? No, obviously, it doesn't happen all the time. I used to do a lot of events. I used to do, a lot of ghost tours in October. And the first thing I made a point of doing is teaching people how to protect themselves, how to ground themselves. They didn't just get to go wandering off on their own right away. I'd like them to be fully aware of the area to which that they were going to be getting accustomed with and getting up close and personal with, introducing them to the spirits properly. And on an average, we never had any issues with anything that I did where people got into any trouble, but not the same for a lot of other people. I think we had a young woman who went to a really famous location in the US and brought back a memento from said location. Amelia, if you remember this, without getting into too much detail, because our case files are private, but we do like to share the circumstances because we feel people can learn from them.
Absolutely.
And 10 years later, she was in real serious trouble with her health. She couldn't figure out what was going on. How for all of these years, just like her life just went downhill, and she was sick all the time. She would have some paranormal activity, but realistically speaking, there's no time limit. They can come and go as they please for years and years and years. And some people don't even realize that they have a hitchhiker hanging out, but they just can't figure out why everything is going down the toilet. So you see, 10 years. And she finally approached us and got a clearing. So, and by the way, completely healed. Heart condition, and they couldn't figure out what really to do with her as she was declining, and she was basically afraid that she was going to pass, and the doctors weren't saying that she wasn't. They were actually very concerned. Removed the attachment, and all of a sudden her health went on the upswing, and she is still a-okay to this day. And that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Clearing.
It's what happens when you think you're not really doing anything. Anytime you go to these giant, really commercialized haunted locations, last thing you should do is take anything home with you. I mean, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Not just an invitation, not a stone, not a pebble, not dirt, not anything.
No,
You're taking
sure.
a piece of that with you. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, because I know people that have taken stones from like cathedrals in Italy and thought because it was a sacred place, sacred ground. Of course, when there's a graveyard, that means that, the land is all blessed and everything, and it's consecrated ground.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that it belongs to you.
It doesn't even mean that it's haunted, technically.
No, it doesn't. But I know people that have taken things like red rock from Arizona and stone, like, I mean, big rocks from cathedrals that were part of their wall. The only way I could explain it was if somebody came to you and they started taking your clothes off, like bits and pieces, and just walking away with it, how would you feel? This is an energy. This is it's one. It's united. You can't disturb it. It really
don't think about it.
No,
really.
they don't, because it's just a thrill.
Things don't always happen either. I mean,
No.
I'm basically mentioning just like one example.
There's many.
Well, I've done events where I've had people really open themselves up, on a tour, And, they're just like this. Oh my God, I can feel the energy. And I'm like, you shouldn't do that. Just like ease into it. Don't do that. And, the next day I get an email and, she says, oh, does the name so-and-so mean something to you? And again, privacy, I don't want to say anything, but I'm like, maybe. Why? She goes, because she was hovering over my bed last night. I'm like, who's the one going, oh, I can feel it. I said, I told you not to do that.
It's an invitation, right?
Well, it happens. Spirits sometimes just get very curious about people. It's not like they're going over there to try
what you having for dinner? I'm coming home with you.
What you doing?
What you doing?
So, but it doesn't always mean that it's malevolent. It doesn't always mean that, it's an attachment.
No.
It just means that maybe somebody wandered home with you because there's something about you that attracted them. If it's a child, because I've seen people in my groups where all of a sudden, again, with one woman and her hand was just sticking out. I'm like, what are you doing? And she says, something's got me by the hand. And I went, how do you feel about that? She goes, I don't know. I was like, all right. And I go, what does it feel like? She goes, a small hand. I said, okay, well, it's one of the children in the area. Then she relaxed completely and she goes, okay. I said, she's just, you remind her, probably of her mother or somebody close to her in her life. I said, but you just explain to her that you have to go. She'll let go. And all of a sudden the woman just says, I got to go now, and just slowly pulled her hand out. And then that was the end of it. So sometimes it could be a really nice experience. Sometimes you may just have something mimicking or pretending to be something that they are not. Bradley. Okay, here's a good one.
I love this one.
There we go. Yeah. Ouija boards to discard for them. Yep, same.
Yeah.
I have a friend who collects them. I just give them all to him.
Yeah. And Zachman, he said, I take pictures for memories from those locations. That's it. Yes, right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Just don't do video, please. Just don't do video. You can't. I always say to people, you can't stop living. You can't stop. You want to be a tourist. You want to, enjoy the moment. That's what it's about. And many of these places are fairly benign. But unfortunately, there's a lot of places that go public. A lot of them won't allow, hardcore spirit communication. So let's just talk about spirit communication for a moment. Let's talk about things like Ouija boards or spirit boards, pendulums, new ghost apps, ghost boxes, ITC apps, things like that. It's not, and don't shoot the messenger, okay? But it's not necessarily, hey, Wayne, the item itself. A lot of times it's the intention of the people using them. It's like I always say, take an unlicensed driver, put them behind the wheel of a car. It's not going to end very well. So if you have a device that is built for spirit communication, even a voice recorder, how many people go out there and do EVPs? The intention that you're putting behind this is you are inviting communication. And again, many times it's benign and it's fine. I've seen extremely seasoned mediums get into a whole lot of trouble, not just with Ouija boards. And yeah, there you go. And exactly, that's right. That's right, Bradley. Recorders are the same as Ouija boards. It's the intent behind it, 100%. It doesn't matter which kind of device you're using for communication. If your intention is to invite something for communication, be careful what you wish for. Because they're not always going to come up with the big billboard and say, hey, I'm demonic, or hey, I'm just, a malevolent, spirit human being. I'm just going to cause you some strife. They're not going to do that. Most of the time, they're going to do it for... Sorry. I was just... Go ahead.
Most of the time, they're going to come off as being something very benign because they want to keep communicating. Your turn.
I was just going to add to that because we've had this happen where they've pretended to be, they've mimicked other children in order to, be able to communicate with children and get an invitation, which I would love if you reiterate what you said on the show last time we spoke of this, of how to handle a child that has an imaginary friend and what to do. I think it's important to repeat that for people listening, especially tonight, because I think a lot of stuff is opening up. I've noticed myself. I did a card reading for myself yesterday. When's the last time I did that?
Mm.
You know, and I felt this need to, and I'll tell you about it later because it's very personal. Sorry, guys. That's just
Mm.
between Michelle and I here. But
Yeah.
I was really shocked at the 3-card layout that they were all on point. All 3, not one was iffy, just
Mhm.
direct. That
Mhm.
is what you're getting right now.
Mhm. Again, I think it has a lot to do with intention. This is a time of year that even people, even investigators, are going to go out, and you have will be or would be want to be investigators who want to go out and they want to learn about this, or they go out on their own because they're like, okay, we're into the season and things are going to be, the veil is allegedly considerably thinner or non-existent, and activity does amp up. I mean, this house, we hear all kinds of things in this house, especially this time of year. But what are you bringing back home? Because I know several investigators who go out and investigate and get themselves in a little bit of trouble, and then they try to figure out, well, why is this here? This was fairly benign. Well, maybe it led you to believe it was fairly benign. But when it comes to children, a lot of times and I won't say we, I shouldn't say we, because I've never done that with my children or any child. I believe that, yes, they can be the teller of tall tales, but in the same respect, they'll also tell it like it is. And I worked a few cases with children, and one that really stands out was that of a little boy who was not quite 5 at the time. And he believed that he was inviting in another little friend, another little boy to come in. But what was interesting is this little boy was shapeshift into snakes and dinosaurs and things like that. And I thought, okay. I said, do you think that's very strange? And he just went, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a little boy turn into that. And I was like, okay, again, how do you feel about that? And he goes, oh, sometimes it worries me. He doesn't want me to tell my mom. And I'm like, okay. So basically, he said to me, well, he asked me if he could come and play. And I said, what did you say? And he said, I told him he could because he was really bugging me very hard. I said, okay. So I had to think, I don't want to scare a child, but I knew, because I bring in other mediums. I don't just rely on myself. I know all the information when I go in. That's why we work with other mediums also, because it's contaminated information for me. I already know everything. I can't even take any of it I just have to take it for what it is with a grain of salt. And I have to rely on, and this specific case was over a year in the making because of the religious background of the family. And we had to wait for a team to come in, travel the world doing their versions of deliverances or exorcisms. And we waited for them. But when you make an invitation, it's a bit of a game changer. They feel now I was invited, I can stay. And it's a little bit more difficult to be able to push them out. So I had to think, what do I do without frightening this child? I want this, the person who makes the invitation usually should be the person to rescind the invitation. So I asked this little child, I said, you know what? I said, what do you think his mommy thinks about this? Because she doesn't know where he is and she's very worried. And he looked at me and I went, did you even ask your mom? And he said, no. I said, well, did he ask his mom? He goes, no. I'm like, well, what are you going to do about that? You better get home right now. You get out of my house and you go home. Your mommy's worried about you. He's 4 years old. And
I love it.
He retracted the invitation. And at that point, then the real work started. But unfortunately, by that point, there had already been others that had come in. So we waited and worked with the family up until the exorcism happened. And it happened with one couple who came in, and I was connected with them through a friend of mine who is a minister of a born-again Christian church in North Carolina. And they were their team basically. So they came up from North Carolina and did this. There were 2 houses that were affected by these entities because these other people, one being one of the mediums that was here in that house doing work with me.
Wow.
And it split and followed because they can do that quite easily. You know what? She had only been, sorry.
Oh, I thought it was me because I just moved my mouse.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Could have been.
Could have been me. Yeah.
I basically watched these 2 people do one exorcism in one location and cleared both places at the same time. And it remained clear for, my gosh, probably 2 years before it started to rear its head again. And then at that point, it was easy because they let me know and I was able to go in right away and clear the house like immediately. But this was a house where children were little ones, like a year old, like under a year old, were being thrown out of their cribs.
Oh, I can't.
It was a terrible thing. And I need people to realize that, this family didn't go looking for anything. They moved into a home that, close with other homes on an active piece of property that had become a subdivision. I watched the same thing happen to a golf course community in a house that you wouldn't think, no way would it happen on here. But it used to be a farm and there were burials nearby. So, sometimes it's just being a victim of circumstance. So I'm going to address this.
I was hoping, yeah.
Not the priest. Very demonic. Thanks. We got it cleared up. Yep. Thank you. Well, I'm glad that one worked out.
That is creepy, Bradley.
2 little girls. Yeah, one tried to hang the other one. It's true. I remember that case.
Creepy.
Yep, she did. Again, these things come in and we don't think about that when we just decide to go to a haunted location. We don't think that we could be bringing that on to ourselves, or you pick up a spirit board or Ouija board. You don't think that you're going to bring something into your home, onto your family. It's really, really frightening. And if I had to think back to all of the people I've assisted over 18 years and the different scenarios, it's like we worked on one last year. Do you remember the property? And right about 2 kilometers away was the witch's house.
Ugh.
Now this is a really again, without getting into too much. Yeah. I don't give away a whole lot of details. I'll only give snippets, but I'll give you the snippets that count. There was a lot of issues with this one property. It probably stemmed from before the family moved in. And, we were able to get that cleared. And it wasn't until we were directed to the other property, a couple of kilometers away, which is probably about 1.2 miles, let's say, US, right? Which was an old the witches. A lot of neighborhoods have them, but this was a real remote area, small town country,
The photographs, remember?
The photographs were something else. Like, wow. The house was just old, decrepit building. Now, was it always a witch's house, or was just something, that the locals figured, it looks like a witch's house? But at the end of the day, by the time the locals got done with it, when we're talking teenagers and people just going out to have some fun, you're young, you don't always know. But I wouldn't be, we knew there was some cult activity there after the fact, right? And the things that were on that property, it wasn't until constant clearing of that property did the other property stay clear. And this is people going out and having a good fun and just conjuring up some good old stuff,
Yeah, because of urban legends or... Yeah.
But the damage that it caused to a property 2 kilometers away, like there's nothing in between, but just like vacant land.
That was the crazy part.
And it caused so much hardship to this family. It was unreal. So you have to think sometimes your actions are creating stuff that you'll never know about.
Well, that's the problem, right? We were going up there at all time. Remember, we were doing Halloween. We were doing all these like devils, all kinds of stuff because we wanted to make sure that that took a while. That
It
took a
did.
while to clear. That was an infestation of so many
Well, because it
things.
had been built up for so many years, and then you
Yeah,
had another demonologist go in and
that I forgot about.
do
Yeah.
his version of a cleansing or clearing, and things quiet down for a while, because you see that's something else that they do is
Hmm.
they give you this false sense of security. So one or two things are going to happen when you go in to clear a location, whether you're going in with mediums, whether you just do it yourself, because I've seen people do amazing things when they decide they've had enough. They're going to do one or two things. They're either going to give you a false sense of security by completely going quiet. So you're able to relax. You're like, okay, I did it. And then before you least expect it, bam, things just spike right up. It doesn't even happen gradually. It just goes right at you. Or they just do that right off the hop to try to scare you into stopping, because if you comply, then things don't seem so bad. But if you fight it, then things get worse. So then people are like, look, I would rather just have it not be too bad, and I can live with this. But in the meantime, their finances suck. They're not going to let you have something. You make $10, they're going to make you spend 20, on a repair, on food, like something, a lot of hard times. You're going to attract a lot of really bad people into your life because you're going to project that. That's just what it's all about.
That's what they don't show you on TV.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I remember speaking to somebody one time and they said, I made all this money. And I thought, oh my God, because they had, like a sort of an event at their location. And then something went wrong with the building and it cost exactly what it is they made. So it's just like, well,
Isn't that interesting?
exactly. So an eye opener. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Doreen. Hi,
Ah,
Pauline.
Bradley. Oh, the old sanitariums. Yeah, those are fun.
But
Done a
look what
couple
he
of
wrote.
those.
They're building condos and houses on the property. I'm waiting for those calls to come in the future.
Yeah,
Wow.
they do that at a lot of locations. There's one here, our neck of the woods, that the property's been sold, and there are multiple buildings on there in the old asylums. Here's what happens when you're dealing with asylums and sanatoriums or old hospitals. Let's talk about that type of energy, because I have investigated them. First off, you're dealing with, let's look at just the sick. Sometimes if you were just sick, tuberculosis, things like that, believe me, you went into places like this. You have to go somewhere. If you were a husband that was tired of your wife and you wanted a younger wife, you can ship off the wife and kids to a sanitarium.
Oh, yeah.
The
All
husbands
it
back
took.
then, yeah, they had that kind of power. Then you
All it took.
had your people who really were, what they would say insane back in the day. That's how you would get put into one of these institutions. Then you had the criminally insane. Then you had those who were not insane of a criminal element, but they pled insanity, and they would get in there and then they would sort of cause all kinds of havoc and create crimes within the area.
Child molesters.
That because the children went with you. A lot of
Yeah.
children were put in these places
Orphans as well.
also.
Orphanages as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you would have faculty, doctors, nurses who would be experimenting. There's all kinds of places like this. Just look all that up. Now, when you have this whole mixing bowl of activity or type of people, what do you think that is going to attract? That negative energy is going to attract usually non-human entities, demonics, interdimensional, not so kind beings. They come in and they amplify all of that. that energy does not go away. And a lot of times, if people die there, they don't always even move on because you've got these things that will hold them there. So, okay, we'll do one at a time. We'll start with Zach's.
Do you want me to read it? I can see it because you
Yeah.
highlighted
Yeah,
it.
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Back in the day, my lady would have shifted me off to a sanatorium because I always drive her crazy.
There you go. Be thankful that things have changed.
And
There's another one.
Chantal, I love that name, said, I worked in a building that I later discovered was an old insane asylum. The weirdest energy there, especially in the basement. It's always the basement,
Yes,
Chantal.
that was where the morgue was.
Yeah, I began protecting my energy daily. Good job. That's
the
something
key.
that I have to constantly remind myself of doing because of what's been going on in these recent times. I haven't gone out as much. So when I do go out, it's funny how everybody's energy hits me so hard right away because I'm not practicing that, shield up kind of thing. I'm glad that you mentioned that, Chantal. That's important in any work environment, whether it's haunted or not. It's really important to protect your energy.
Well, grounding is really important. It protects you even against, negative people. It keeps negative people away from you. It keeps things from attaching to you. People just have to find the right technique that works for them,
There was, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's this meme that was out there, and it's not a comical. It was a really good point. I believe she tweeted this comment out, this lady, that if for horror films, if they taught her anything, it wasn't to be afraid of going into the basement. It was that she's afraid to buy a house. I thought that was very interesting because now you have to research.
Right.
When you're, especially now, like in Canada, how we're getting bigger and bigger and expanding and going out more and more into these, vast lands of nothingness. You really do need to do your research on the history and what was there, what happened there, who lived there, was it farmed, was there a grave ever there? Because they only have so many years before they can just build right over it. They don't have to move anything.
It's true.
Because then everybody outlives everyone, right? So,
but with farmland too, guys, remember, especially farms, people who back in the day owned these farms initially, you were land wealthy. A lot of times these weren't wealthy people. What made you a wealthy person was owning that land. Chances are you were born on the land or your children were born on the land. The land sustained you. You cut wood for fire. You had crops to feed you. You may have had, cattle to feed you. You had like hens for eggs. You would take that lard, to basically candles and all kinds of things. Life was really hard. It wasn't like flipping a light switch and turning on a furnace. That land sustained you. You worked it. And chances are it got to a point where perhaps you died on the land, you were buried on the land, and you don't realize, but they don't just let it go. And when these things get bulldozed over and these properties go in on there, they end up with a lot of activity. Now go back even further. Go back before the farm. You have to go way back where there's settlements there, where there are indigenous settlements there. Because when you're dealing with the indigenous people, they're very spiritual people. And they worked with earth spirits. They were connected to their ancestors. That didn't just stop because, let's say, their elders or their ancestors stopped physically being. They're very spiritual people. And I know I can't tell you over the years how many properties I've come across where there have been elementals, earth spirits, and sometimes they get very aggressive. Well, you're kind of disturbing them. So you need to really learn a lot about them. And I mean, I've been researching for years and years and years. And I ended up with a man who I was asked to assist. And then Amelia came on board. And just in time when we got working with him. But he taught me so much when it came to Earth, the planet, the energies. and earth
Yep.
energies, to which, of course, if you're getting into the old term, divas. And I would laugh when he'd call them divas all the time. And then I started researching recently. I'm going, dang, they're divas for
It
sure.
wasn't a nickname. We thought it was
They
a
were. We
nickname.
thought it was
Like,
a
oh, isn't
nickname,
that
but
adorable? He
it's
calls them
true. They
divas.
really were. But he basically, said to me, no, this is what you have to do. This is what they're like. This is how they dwell. This is how they work. And I was just like, who the heck knew? So that's why I always say, always make a point of just keep learning, because honestly, I learned this 2 years ago and I'm just like, face palm. Wow, that is a freaking thing, right? And I'll tell you though, ever since that, elementals are no longer a problem with anybody who requests help from us, because we simply know how to work with them. Because there are some, they were terrorizing homeowners, just ripping through their houses, and because the house wasn't there at one time. It simply wasn't.
Yeah, I misunderstood them so much before we got to work with him.
They're
and
aggressive.
He taught us so much. They're highly
aggressive.
aggressive
It's true.
when you're where they don't want you to be. There's no
know.
doubt about that. I was afraid of them for a long time.
No, it's
Yeah.
true. But yet they're just it just turns out like they're just misunderstood, perhaps, in some ways.
They got nothing on the Fae. That's all I'm gonna say.
No.
Very misunderstood. Okay, Bradley, for protection of children, I use the teddy bear. I place protection stories inside the bear and have it blessed as well. Kids don't even know they are there. So for that, it works. I tell them to keep the bear with them all. That is so sweet.
That is an excellent idea, Bradley.
It's very protective. Excellent. It reminds me of the police department here does a drive that you donate money and they buy teddy bears for when they have to take kids out of homes to make them feel like they're not alone. And that is brilliant, Bradley. Thank you for sharing that with us.
That's a fantastic
Maybe other people
idea.
Listening can use that if you're an investigator.
Yeah, I'll put this back up for a few minutes, because when this actually airs on archive, you don't get to see all the chats, because the chats are spread out over 8 different platforms right now. So this way here, at least it'll be up on the video for a few minutes. But I find at that point, people really need to take the initiative to learn. So look at that, Bradley. Chantel says, yes, great idea, the teddy bear.
I think so.
It's catching on.
Yeah, you'll see people bring a ball to an investigative location to communicate it with the spirit. But this is important to have a child feel protected and not even realize how, the gravity of what's inside, which I think that's just beautiful.
You just don't know, like, spirits do get held hostage by more malevolent entities, children especially. I have got voice recordings from investigations that I've done, and I don't typically investigate the way a lot of people do. I will set up recorders just so I can catch, obviously, try to validate the family. But my attention doesn't leave the family. And most people who've investigated with me know my attention is on the family. I'm not going to give the attention to anything else that doesn't deserve it. I won't empower anything that way.
No.
And there was one location that I did, and there was a child's voice that went, "He's coming, hide, hide."
That is so sad.
And then I heard a growl.
Ugh,
so I was just sad. Like they are held hostage. So please, people, when you're investigating, can you maybe, there are some really good researchers out there who just can be like, no, this isn't cool. That, I wouldn't want that happening to my daughter. I wouldn't want to know that my child was in a building with something really malevolent and that they're trying to hide from it. Gosh, please just do something. There has to be something more than just getting that EVP. There has to be something more than just getting that that manic photograph. People think like, oh, I'm going to get a show with this stuff. No, you're freaking not. Chances are you're not, because these are really all over the place. There are researchers all over the world who get that and better. I mean, my friend Tony Ferguson, I'm going to give him a big shout out because I think he's just a sweetie. He and Paul Sissel, they were on the show. Yep. They are, though. Have you seen the stuff they get? It's phenomenal.
Their EVPs are like class A after class A after class A. Yeah.
Because they know what they're doing. They know how to connect.
The respect too.
So just bear that in mind. It is not always about the evidence. It's not always about what can you capture, like I'm going to get this and great investigation. Oh, I'm going to go back next week to do it again. At some point, there has to be humanity to it. There has to be a human side to an investigation. These individuals were once people, not all. And I don't know that you want to trifle with those that were never human. But the human spirits it's still their essence. It's what made up the individual. Where's the humanity in investigating sometimes? I know some people say, well, we don't have the right to move them on. Some people will say, well, not my place, or maybe they don't want to go. Well, maybe they don't know they're dead, which is why they don't want to go. Maybe somebody needs to bother to ask them.
That seems to be like almost like taboo to discuss with certain people in the field. You have to be really, really careful. It's such a touchy subject with some. Because I remember one guest, we were discussing about moving spirits on, and she flipped out for us even doing that. And I was just like, wow, like,
I'll never leave a child behind. Sorry, people.
I won't leave any spirit behind, especially when they've been given a choice. It's not like we just say, hey, it doesn't work like that. We don't put them into shock. I don't believe spirits I don't personally. So send the emails to me. I don't personally believe spirits are meant to be behind grounded. If they decide to come back in visitation, that's up to them.
But they can. If you send them, they can come back and forth and stay if they want.
Exactly.
And they just don't have all the baggage and the fears.
I think that's what people, they don't understand that. I didn't know that till I met you. I learned so much from you. I didn't know that until you told me. I always thought, they're stuck and they're supposed to be there. It's attached to this, or it's attached.
Use this house as an example. This house has had many, many spirits, and those that were causing issues were sent on from early on, but the main spirit in this home is a woman who the home was built for, to entertain in. She loves the home. There are other spirits that come in and out, but they're not stuck. And this house is active as crap.
There for a party.
Exactly. I'm gonna tell you, like, we saw one New Year's Eve. There wasn't anybody in this house for 4 freaking months, and the cameras are picking up all kinds of stuff. We're like, good grief, what's going on? We realized it was New Year's Eve. I'm like, okay, obviously somebody's getting ready for a social event. Because there's nobody here anyway, right? So but I thought it's just proof right there that they don't have to be stuck and tormented just to be active and happy. So
I hope my house looks like that in 100 years, because I built it to entertain. So I hope that I'm, knocking around a few shot glasses.
There we go. Exactly. Residual sounds and dimensional bleed throughs. That could be a thing.
That would be nice. Maybe the radio show will dimensionally bleed through the office.
There we go. That would be fun. So we'll address Zach Man's comment and we'll work our way down.
Okay. I dealt with a female spirit at my old cigar lounge. Thankfully, she liked me, but she hated my business partner. Turns out she was a good judge of character. See, sometimes they're there to give you a message and you don't realize, right?
They can help.
Absolutely. And Chantel says, most investigators on TV are so disrespectful. It angers me to watch them.
Yeah.
It's an entertainment industry. It's not. It's not really investigation.
Hold on. I want to get back here to Bradley. Don't want to miss. We're going in order. Too quick for us, Chantel.
Yeah, she can't see that he's on Facebook. That's why.
That's why we're on different streams.
Chantel's on YouTube, so she can't see it. Okay. So Bradley says there is more getting to good spirits and your guides and your faith to get the bad out first.
Right.
They move on the good if only they want to go.
There is more to it. Yeah, getting good spirits in
Yeah.
your guides. Have faith in the bad out first. There, yeah, I agree with you. I
Yep.
agree with you on that. Okay, Chantel,
And
here you are.
Chantel, I've always distinguished banishing and helping them to cross over,
Mm-hmm.
because if a spirit isn't ready to cross, they won't. Yeah.
That's true.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you have to keep working on it.
Mm-hmm. It's
You
true.
know.
So, okay, I'll put this out to you guys then, to those who are watching and listening. So, do you have the right to send them on? I don't know. Like, we have a lot of people who it's just a 50-50 thing with this. Like,
It really is. It's
we have
it's a
people
political debate.
for sure, but we
yeah.
have people from all walks of life on this show, and they are very the top of fields, and some of them are just like, no, I don't think that should be a thing. They have just as much right to be here. But then I think to myself, I agree. But if I see, for example, a family, because I did a crazy active location, and the entire family, we had the two parents and 3 children that were held hostage in a place by malevolent entities, demonic, growling, chasing them. When these people were alive, the children were pushed down the stairs. The wife was pushed off a widow's walk. The husband was hung. Okay, so, guys, I mean, when do we say enough is enough?
Hi,
Needless to
Jonathan.
say,
Yeah.
hell yeah, that family got moved on.
Damn
Because
straight.
no freaking way are you going to sit there and they're tormented in life. What, they get tormented in the afterlife too?
Yeah.
No freaking
And
way.
then let's play on the other side. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan, thank
Some
you.
people don't want to help them move on because they want to keep that place active. There are consequences to that as well, especially if the
In
spirits
some
want to
locations,
cross.
yeah.
Especially if
Yeah, in
Not
some
all.
locations, it's true. No, not all. Some people are, I mean, obviously when people bring you in, some of them are just like, no, like just move them on. Like it was never an option to not move on spirits that were here. It's like, no, you have that choice. And many return, clearly they come in, they come out, but they're moved on. Right. So there's no more heaviness in the house like there used to be in some spots. But
yeah, it's sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, thank you. There was one episode of Supernatural that mirror images your experience, where there was a family stuck behind,
Right.
and being held back by a
Right.
young child when they thought it was an older man, but it was a young child that was taking and she was still murdering in the other life from the other side, which does happen. And causing accidents to lead to death so that she could keep the spirits there because she needed them to continue. I thought it was one of the best episodes they ever did. And then you tell me this story of your experience, and I was like, wow, like Supernatural did a story like this. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry. It was interesting. Here, I'll post that. It was interesting for me in this one location that I did because the family really was held hostage. And it was one of those situations that this family was from the 1800s. And while I was asked to represent the house in a paranormal way, because they did do tours and they had overnight stays and things like that, somehow the descendants of that family reached out to me and invited me. They basically said, would you like to meet our
Love
family?
You too.
Yeah. Love you too. They said, would you like to meet my family? These people. I'm like, what, for real? They're like, oh, yeah. They invited me to their home. And I went in and there was a whole wall of photos. And I looked at them and everything I'd seen in my mind's eye, I was looking at in photographs going, oh my God, this is them. And it made it, remember where I said you have to make it human? You have to realize they're humans. These are people with emotions. And I just sat there and looked at them and I looked into their eyes in these photographs. And when I went back, it felt different in a way, because not that I didn't connect to them in a human way before, but I really connected with them Like I felt that kinship, you
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely. This one I think you need to answer.
You may have covered this, but do you believe a malevolent human spirit can be forcefully removed? Say an abusive father or husband. I absolutely do. Yes, done it.
More than
Send me the
once.
hate mail if you want, but now
No, more
I
than
have,
once.
I have actually encountered this a few times in my I hate to say career because I don't look at this as a career. I look at this as something that I'm blessed to be able to do. But I have seen abusive family members come back because they don't move over and they're still tormenting. They're still tormenting spirits. I don't know. Melanie says the feed keeps freezing. I don't know. It's not freezing.
It might be on your end. You might want to just reload your page. It could be
Yeah.
your Wi-Fi or your internet. Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And Chantal says, as long as it's done respectfully for the highest best, many times it's necessary to intervene and assist spirit to move on. Absolutely.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
I
Thank you.
agree. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree completely. Yeah, it is really, it's really a fine line, you know,
Thanks,
with,
Sherry. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, her feed is fine. So it could be your end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It's
she's on
usually,
Facebook also.
when
Yeah,
it's Facebook, it's usually your internet. That's what I find.
right.
If it's YouTube and it's freezing for everyone, then I would say, okay, there's something with
YouTube's
the
often the
feed.
culprit. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But if
So,
it's just one Facebook, just reload. Just reload. Thank
so
you.
yeah, I think, you know, those pesky family members that just keep coming back with the gift that keeps on giving, being an asshole. Yes,
Yeah.
they can be removed. We've done a few of those recently.
I
You know,
have
with
one in
people.
my life that I won't mention her name, but Michelle knows who she is, and she passed about a year, 2 years before my dad,
Mm.
and I refuse to let her in my space, and she has tried to catch me off guard more than once, and even try. And I know she's ascended because I checked right away,
Right.
because I wanted to make sure for many reasons.
Right.
Peace for most part for her,
Mhm.
and she had to go into her own atonement for her life. And peace for my family. So, anyways, she tries to manipulate me on holidays where my guard is down, and she tried again Thanksgiving, and I'm like,
That's tough. Yeah. No,
no, I won't
you
let her in
can't
to
set.
communicate. It's not my problem. She can find another way of communicating because I
Mhm.
shut that door a long time ago. And it's okay to
And she's
feel
an
that way
ascended
with
one
people.
besides that.
She's ascended and
So
she's still
she,
trying.
well,
And
so she's not going to be abusive. She just wants to be. She
I
wants
think she
peace.
wants to apologize. Yes.
Yeah, she
And
wants
I'm
peace.
not ready for that. So I'm not dealing with it right now. And I just want to make that the reason why I'm telling that story is because if you're a medium, it's okay not to
Mhm.
feel guilty about that. There's a
Yeah.
reason why you're feeling that way because maybe, it's just not the time for that spirit to get that
Mhm.
forgiveness.
Right. It's
So
true.
maybe they have to work something out on that side, depending on
It's
what your
true.
beliefs are.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I knew it would happen because she was a devout Roman Catholic and I knew she would come. I
Right.
knew it right away. And I was just like, like push right back, like not
I
happening.
love stories of spirits like that though. It goes to show you not everything is malevolent,
No,
and you know what, guys, not everything is a spirit, and we've touched on this, and this has come up a few times too. So I'm going to try to roll it in here delicately. There are people who swear up and down, "I'm haunted. It's a demon. There's this going on. There's that going on." And when you first listen, you're like, "Oh, footsteps and cupboard doors opening and closing and scratches and oh my gosh, there's all kinds of stuff going on."
classics.
Then you get in there and it's like crickets. There's literally nothing going on at all. So trying to explain to somebody that they're projecting energy, psychokinesis, telekinesis, things like that. The most delicate way I could think to communicate this to people who it applies to is to send them different links explaining it, because it would explain it a whole lot better than I can explain it. And I always say, if you can see some similarities in this, let me know, because this is what we see. It's like, back off. Don't shoot the messenger. But it really is like that. Somehow it's easier for people to think I have a demonic entity in the house than it is for them to think I am this powerful energy being that can project enough energy that I can create footsteps, I can create doors to open and close, I can create even scratches to themselves, believe it or not. Energy is powerful. What you do with it, powerful. If you have no control over it, can you imagine what you could do if you had control over it? You can learn how to bloody channel this stuff and really do good things with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something people need to educate themselves on a little bit more, because it is actually really common. And when you're in this sort of day and age where the world is going through what we're going through, you have people with different mindsets. You have people who are depressed. You have people who are angry. You have a lot of division between people. Like, people are very, very divided.
Yeah.
People who should be united and work together are very divided. So that leads me to think, what is going on with the mindset? This is a prime situation for things to wander in and go, oh, here's one we can play with, or here's one we can attach to, because people are mad, or they're scared, or they're sad. Those emotions set off a certain vibration and a certain frequency that attracts lower, frequency beings. They do. One of the first things I tell people, and I often post this, especially on Instagram, because I post a lot more on Instagram. And you'll see me say, live, love, laugh, breathe, dance, just do it. Don't just exist, because you have to raise that vibration. I always tell people, play some music, watch a funny movie, just dance, open some windows, get some fresh air, hug a tree, walk a bare feet outside.
Yeah. Just do whatever makes you happy.
But raise the vibrations, get the frequency up, because these malevolent things cannot exist in a really positive environment. They can't. They need to be fed. That's why they stir shit up. This is why, pardon my French, but this is why they stir stuff up, because they want you to stay scared. They want you to be mad. They want you to be divided. This is what they do. Divide and conquer. They will isolate you from people you care about or who care about you, because if you're isolated, then there's nobody to help you. You have nobody to reach out to.
They've tried to do that with us.
Oh, yeah.
Few times. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
They keep you mad. They keep you sad. This is just this is the formula. It's always the same. As different as they are, all the people are, as different as the entities are, it's always the same formula. It's kind of just like one of those TV series that's always the same, but they're all different.
Mm-hmm. I always say, be aware of those voices in your head. Know which one is which. Yeah. I know they sound the same, and I know it sounds insane, but know which is which. Know which one is yours. Know which one, because anything dark will come from ego, will come through ego. Yeah, wow. A lot of people like today went out and had a couple appointments, and someone asked me, is it the big question that we always, sorry, I have a fan running and my hair's like all over my face. I'm going insane here. So they always ask this question, and I know you hear this a lot, and we started with this at the beginning about how October just seems to bring in so much more. And I always say, Halloween's at the end of the month. Yes, there's a lot more, but what are you doing different in October that you don't do the rest of the year? And people don't realize that watching horror films continuously, looking into stories, myths, legends, going through that kind of stuff does bring about visitors sometimes.
I think because it's mindset. I think we place ourselves
Yep.
there, in a way, feel a little bit, I don't know what it is. It's never done that for me. But there are some people who, that's what I mean. It tis the season, and they might do things that are a little bit out of the norm. But then you get the diehards who watch, horror movies all year round. Never affects them. See, exactly. So
I call them comedies, and
yeah.
it's a big joke with my best friend Eric. He just laughs when we go see a horror film, and I'm the only one laughing in the audience, and he just looks at me, shakes his head. I'm like, this is ridiculously funny, but it again, it's entertaining.
Mhm.
I just I get that question a lot because
Mhm.
of October. And I always say, you pay more attention to things around you because of the season as well.
Mhm.
And like you said, mindset,
Mhm.
huge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you read that one?
So, can I ask your opinions on how to differentiate spiritual attachments and mental health? That's for Michelle to answer.
Ah, that's a touchy one. That is a touchy one. When I have worked with people, I usually require different things. It depends on, first off, their religious background, because the Catholics, for example, want a lot of documentation. So I will have to request them to have a psychological assessment, a psychiatric assessment. I need permission from their doctors to continue to work with them, which I always get. Actually, their doctors are really good with it, especially like the psychologists and psychiatrists are like, no, no, do it, but you cannot let them go off the medication. That's off limits. I'm like, you know, I'm there to work with the mindset just to figure out what's going on. If the medication doesn't work, then there's clearly something, either they need to adjust the medication or there's something else at play. I'll give you an example of a woman I helped. This is probably going back about 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. And her sister contacted me and said, there's something that's not right with my sister. Can you come in? And I said, don't communicate with me from the house. And I said, does she live alone? They're like, no. So I said, okay, I'd like her husband to officially let me in, because without giving too much away, everything that she told me, I knew was going to be a bit of a problem. So I went in, I brought two mediums with me because my attention was going to be on this woman, this young family, two young children. She, every time a priest would come, she would invite him to bless the house. She'd never let him in. She would do very strange things. I mean, really, really strange. And it was affecting the family. The family was dividing. When the day I came in, the husband let me in, and the sister was there, and the woman was facing a wall, eating cereal like this, and everything was just going all over the place. And I'm sitting there going, okay. I'm standing right behind her. I quietly come right up behind her. I'm very unorthodox in how I do things because I was taught not to show fear, even if you feel it. So she stops eating like this. And I'm like, I don't know what she's going to do. So I'm just bracing myself. She spins around. The bowl just like goes flying. She goes in some crazy voice, why are you here? I'm like, okay, just swallow, just swallow.
breathe,
So
breathe.
yeah, just breathe.
Yeah, that's
So
scary. That's startling. Yeah.
it startled me,
Oh yeah.
but I put my mouth to her ear and all I said was, I came to play. And I backed
I love
away,
that.
and she looked at me and I just smiled at her. And she didn't know what to say. She was like, like this. I went, excellent. We're in agreement then. And we went and sat down. And for 4 hours, I watched her chain smoke. She would maybe take 2 puffs, down it went, just one after another, and looking at me. And her eyes never left mine. And it got to a point where I just sat there very calmly and looked at her and let her, and she completely calmed down and she went, what's happening to me? This was after 4 hours. And I went, now we're ready. now I have you, and now you're the one I'm communicating with. And it took 3 months, working with her doctors. Family was already one step ahead of me with 2 psychiatric assessments, and she was on medication, but 3 months, and she was clear.
Wonderful.
So, next one we'll go here. So my opinion on that is always, work with the professionals who can do a proper assessment and do your part, but you have to work together with the medical team and the people of faith, if that's what the family wants. It's about the family.
You're dealing with someone's life.
Exactly.
You're dealing with their 100%. Sanity. You have to be very careful,
and you're dealing with the family. It's a family
walk
unit.
Away if you don't know what to do. Find someone else to help them. Don't Don't say, "Oh, I can do this." Don't do it if you hesitate. Hesitation is a sign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got it?
Okay. Yes, I do. Thank you. I fully agree with everything you're saying. This is Jonathan Silva, by the way. I still use and follow the grounding techniques that you taught me and have shared it with my friends and family. I find raising the vibration gets easier as we get older. I so agree with you.
Right.
I cannot thank you enough, Michelle. Thank you both for the great show. Been following it since the Niagara studio days.
Oh my gosh, that was what, 2 years ago?
This is episode 171. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you for your support.
Yes,
wow.
Thank you. Might have to put you up with the list of sponsors. So Sherry says, after demonics, reptilians, grays, tall whites, small grays, and grounded souls thrown at me. Wow, those were crazy days, Sherry.
They were.
Oh, they were so crazy. You guys managed to clear it all. My mental health was definitely affected. Stress on steroids, but with your kindness and understanding, you're going to make me cry, Sherry. And continuous support, I got through it. I'm going to cry. Like, you have no idea.
I had many late nights together. So besides that.
Sherry, I don't have the experience Michelle has. And when I walked remotely into that home for the first time, I thought I was going to pass out. I think you're a warrior. I think you're an incredible woman, Sherry, and we couldn't have done it without you.
That's what I always say. I have always only been, in all of my years, half the equation. We are only half the equation. And we have a very special team that we work with. This is a team effort. I'm the one in the forefront. And people don't realize, over the last couple of years, the team is very, very different. And I may be in the forefront because I'm the one you're used to seeing. But there's a lot of special people, one right there, that are here to assist. So, always bear in mind, it's not like waving, a magic wand, because I followed all the rules. I'm still following the rules. I'm an old warrior. Yeah.
We all are. We go back lifetimes together. Your family, your soul family. You can't do it if we can't help you, if you can't help yourself as well. And if you don't follow through it, seriously, this fan is driving me crazy. If you don't follow through, it could have been a whole different outcome. I'm so grateful that, you have that strength, Sherry, and that you shared your story on our show with
it's true.
all our listeners, and you helped so many people. And, and Sherry is an incredible medium. And just
reading,
just saying, really good ones. Yeah. I've heard a lot of good things about Sherry. I adore you, and I know that none of it would have been possible had you not done what you did.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. And Jonathan, anytime, my friend. We like sponsors. Richard
Kidd. Hey, Michelle, it's been a while since we last chatted. You were and are a bright side of the paranormal and investigation to me. I've also missed you.
Oh, thank you very much.
So sweet.
It's I've had a lot of people, because of course with the pandemic, I've put film on hold completely. I've been asked to do a couple of projects, and there's some I've agreed to do that will come they are coming, and I am working with people remotely through the computer, and there are some really good things coming. Not what you guys think, though. It's not going. I know people can be like, "What? What happens?" But yeah. So just saying. But with that being said, I miss the filming. There's some
The crew.
people I would not necessarily, just film as much as I did, because I really enjoy doing the radio. And even though I've always done a lot of radio, this one's different, obviously. And I feel it's just a lot more personal, where I can be myself, where people can really know me on that different level. So it's a lot of fun. But there are a couple of productions that I would go back and continue doing, Survivor being one of them.
Oh my gosh. Great show.
It is. Thank you. It really is a lot of fun to do. The folks over at our house are wonderful.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they were playing
amazing.
My Paranormal Nightmare marathon.
I get a lot of emails.
Canada,
I can always tell when a show is airing, because I get all these friend requests and all these comments.
It's airing in PA, because Julia Siracusa messaged me last night. She goes, "I'm watching Michelle and Jack's story." She goes, "Now I'm watching you," and I'm like, "What? It's just airing. It's airing now." I said, "Yeah, because Spook Month, right?" So that I loved. That was so much fun.
I know.
Sherry wrote, "I remember playing Templar prayers in the basement, full blast, really pissed them off. They were yelling at me, 'You have no respect.'" Yes. And you also looped Padre Pio, St. Pio's Mass. Love it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Sherry. I forgot about that. She went through 50 pounds of salt, gallons of holy water.
Your place
no result. Oh, wow. It should have been built on salt. That's all I'm going to say. Only Michelle and Amelia knew what to do. No, I just follow orders. The oozy stuff running down the walls was and all the salt melted. It was like walking into a real life horror.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you don't realize how strong you are, Sherry, because you stayed there a long time through all of that.
Then it's an education process, she working alongside people, you teach them. I've always said, when I work with people, I would teach how to protect themselves, because I would not always be around. I will die one day. I'll haunt you. I will, but I will die one day. So, and sometimes my waiting list has always been long.
I'm going to highlight this one, because I know Michelle won't. She's too humble.
Thank you, Richard.
You're too humble, kind. So I knew you wouldn't highlight that.
No, I won't. No.
But
Jonathan, coming Halloween 2022, Michelle versus Elvira. Revenge of the Mistress of the Dark. No, there's no competition. I love Cassandra Peterson. I love
my Elvira. God, does she not polar opposite in real life? Wow.
She really is.
Stunning woman. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
I tried to sleep in my truck, but they were knocking on the windows. I remember that.
Yeah,
I got a text message from Michelle that night.
I know. It's like, all right, there's shit going down.
Yeah.
So we have to do a station ID.
Oh my gosh.
It is that time. It is that time. Yes,
wow.
It is. We have our sponsors to thank.
Absolutely. You're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and myself, Amelia Pisano, tonight. And we are here, and you are our guests. Thank you so much for all of you tuning in. We are live on 105.3 FM in New Orleans, the beautiful city of New Orleans, streaming for you on UFO Paranormal Radio, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials Radio, International Public Radio, eventually coming back UPRN Talk Radio, and a full gamut of Facebook pages that mirror the same titles as those. I'm pointing to a sign you can't see. We are sponsored tonight. If you listen to the beginning and you hear us out through the end, please don't shut us off. Listen to the end. Our intro and outro is by the magical Dr. Snick, the gifted, the multi-talented, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker. You can find his music on multiple platforms, including Amazon. And you said Spotify, right? There's a whole, any of them. You search them, Google him, and I will. Oh no, it's okay, Richard. It's okay. I just saw that come up from the side. And we would like to thank tonight and every night that we are on as well, fully sponsored by the good folks at Folgers Coffee. We love you so much. No one loves you more than Michelle and I. Thank you
Guaranteed.
so much for your support.
Freaking teed.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
So now what I want to do is go off into a little bit out of the norm when it comes to certain beings. And because Sherry mentioned something, ET. So
she only named 3 of them.
Yeah. there is a really fine line, believe it or not, with extraterrestrials and demonic energies, and I learned this really early on because I was going to some locations where they were using the same portals. And how do I know? Because there were reports by members of the family or guests, who had visited the home where they had seen grays and had demonic activity. So if we do go back in time, to the time of the archons, right, in the Gnostic texts, and they speak of these aggressive extraterrestrials, which looked very demonic, and that their only job was to hold humanity hostage. I don't know, sounds a little bit demonic to me. But some people would mistake maybe draconians and reptilians and maybe iguanians and things like that as, demonic, perhaps. The grays. The gray, no worries, so happy you're here.
No, just he doesn't have to apologize. Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
So when you're thinking about that, some signs of abductions or experiences, even by the grays, are very similar to what some people have been experiencing with alleged demonic activity. So are they one of the same? Are they different? Look at it this way. I mean, there are some people who don't believe in angels or demons at all. They believe everything's extraterrestrial. Then you get people who are on the flip side of that coin. So,
yeah.
Demons, I have an alien spirit guide. Wow,
it fits right in. So I thought it was important to put it up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
Jonathan's got some amazing experiences.
Absolutely.
Got a lot of stories to tell.
But there are a lot of connections between the two. I've also had, those similar experiences. Those who have watched, my paranormal nightmare, will basically, okay, I'll do my best. I don't get on Messenger often, though. I have to say, I get a whole lot of messages.
Well, I'm sure you have emails.
Email's always the best.
Yeah.
Email's always the best for me. Believe it. Huh? But watching the show, I did grow up with an attachment or, an oppressed situation, and it took me a while to get that being out of my life. But I've also had extraterrestrial experiences from the time I was a child. Only I didn't recall them all. And as I started getting older and talking to, my mom, family members, going, I remember this now, or I remember this. Not realizing that maybe, just maybe, there was a connection between the two. Now, I have them and I'm well aware of the differences. But the fact is those differences, they were always there.
It's such a fine line, right?
I think so.
It's a tough one. That's another touchy subject in the field.
It is.
Is that comparison as well, not just,
No, it's true.
That's right up there with crossing over or not.
It is. It is. A harmless plug. Okay, do you have a harmless plug? What's your harmless plug, Chantel?
She plugged Folgers at the top, but I don't want to read
Oh,
who
I
else is on
see.
there.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't want to read who else is on there.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah.
We love Folgers. So.
Yes, we do.
Why do ETs choose certain people? Huh.
Yeah, that's the
a good
question of the
question.
century.
Lineage. Allegedly, it has to do with, I think, lineage. I think it has to do, I mean, they do follow people for, thousands of years, lineages and bloodlines. And I think anybody who is open to wanting to communicate with them, I think as soon as somebody is ready, they seem to know, they hear your thoughts. And I think this is what they've been waiting for. It's not all gloom and doom. There are a lot of reports, people, nobody can get past the probing. Okay. But they probe your dog when you go to the vet.
I know,
Is
but
a temperature thing. Like, is it? No, but I'm just saying, I don't mean to make this comparison. And
no,
I don't mean to sound insensitive, but are they doing something like, is it all experimental? Because there's a whole lot of reports out there where people are claiming to have been healed and they're claiming to have been helped. Like, I don't know, there's something to it. It's not all gloom and doom. There's a lot of bad reports, but is it our fear? I can tell you, when I was uncomfortable with it, I was just like, I didn't like it. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that they felt like little creepers. Just, who the hell shows up in your room in the damn middle of the night? It's like, I'd be mad at anybody doing that. But as soon as I got comfortable with them and realized, like, okay, but they're not hurting me at all, the experiences are a lot different.
yeah, and then someone can say that with spirits too. It's a tough one. You know what I believe it is? We're so far behind on that information, and of course with the internet and everything, we're getting closer and closer to the truth and so-called disclosures. I can't believe I'm doing air quotes tonight. What the hell is going on? But yeah, so I believe what's happening is just like this fear that was created with horror films. They created that fear with aliens to, some say, to obtain control, the government to keep control and a thumb on us, or power and stuff like that, which is not a conspiracy theory. It's highly believable. I believe that's why there's so much fear, because of all this almost brainwashing that happened our entire lives.
I think
with
so.
all these films, they always made it a horrific situation. The most benign being E.T. was so cute. All of a sudden, we let our guard down. He's so cute. Drew Barrymore was incredible, so cute. And then you see Alienation. All these films. It just taking out the White House, it's always catastrophic. It's never.
But that's
was
the
really
idea behind it. It's to keep people fearful. And when people become accepting of it, what's the next thing you do? False wars, false invasions.
It absolutely comes through in the latest film with Amy Adams. I believe it's called Awakenings, if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure. I did see it. I had to watch it again after hearing you and Joe on the Gray Zone on Saturdays, 6 to 8 Central. Or 6 to 8 Eastern.
6 to 8 p.m.
Yes,
Eastern.
5 to 7 Central.
5 to 7 Central.
Great, fantastic show, her and Joe Montaldo. I've heard you two discussing the film, and I went back right after your show because I listen to her every week. I watch them on my TV, on YouTube, on my television, big TV. It's a good way to see both of them. I watched it again and had a whole different perspective as to the first time, where I couldn't get through it because of what I learned through, via you and Joe, not just the show, but working with you, of course. I had a whole different experience with that film. And I was not that I feel like everything is accurate. Nobody really knows, but it was quite exciting to see how they learned to communicate with them, and they could see that there was love. And it was the first time, other than the film E.T., that you saw something benign with aliens. So
That's what I'm
I was
saying.
happy for that.
Not everything
No.
has to be frightening, right?
No, absolutely not. Jonathan says, I feel the media misportrays ET as these fear mongering beings, and anybody who sees them is either crazy or on drugs. Absolutely. I definitely think Big Brother is trying to hide stuff because they're scared of hurting their pockets if the truth is known.
That's very possible.
Amen.
I think so. You have to look back throughout the ages, the powers that be. You start even with religion. It created really to control the masses. It really was to put some structure down. And I, that I mean, you have millions of people running amok. That's the way it goes. But government and religion are there to basically put a degree of control into the lives of the masses. Yeah. So when people become complacent, like I say, disclosure, everybody's like, yeah, we're all seeing it. I'm sorry, people, but you have this invention right here. Everybody with a camera phone gets better things than what the government released. It's very hard to now. You can't just say to the people, no, it's not real. No, it doesn't exist. Because you have people out there who are getting it, putting it on social media, and people are seeing for themselves. So people aren't frightened anymore on an average. So what's next? Well, now they can't just say they've known all along, they're just hiding it. So now it's along the lines of, the false wars, the false invasion. So now this is what it is. A lot of the stuff that you see out there is like, oh, well, look at, we're being swarmed by ETs. People don't even realize the government themselves have their own reverse engineered crafts. What are you really seeing?
That's a big one that the two of you cover a lot.
But they admit it. Yes,
we
can reverse engineer. We have our own. Hitler had his own.
Yes, certain shapes that you see in the sky are theirs, not. And there's even been the stories of, which you guys have discussed as well, of when you're being abducted, it's government. When it's being done at home, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a different experience. That not every liftoff is actually happening.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. Really scary. It's really it's when you delve into all of those and you start researching. I don't know if I could do that kind of research. I think I'd panic. But
I don't know. I find it intriguing, but I think those of us in the paranormal eventually always branch out into ufology because they do cross. There's a lot more, to it than people would think. So it was just, I've dabbled in it. I've been an experiencer, but seeing so many people that I've worked with also being experiencers or abductees, contactees, you sort of have to verse yourself even a little bit to be able, to assist. Richard, I would recommend you get in touch with our producer, Joe Montaldo, who basically owns probably the largest contactee network there is out there. And he's always looking for that sort of information. So, and that's right, the Space Force, but the Dark Fleet. So it's all out there, man. It's all out there.
Watch out for those stealth flyers.
It's true. It's true. It needs to control major world governments. I agree. I do. The false flag. I do agree.
Same wavelength.
Yeah, I do agree. But again, you can do a show just on that. The thing is I think I already did that one. The thing is that there are a lot of similarities between, UFOs or shall I say, some extraterrestrials and some of the beings, interdimensional beings that we look at as demonic. Not everything is a demon. It really isn't. And I know you see me on TV saying demon because they don't use all the other answers I give them. That seems to be the one that everybody likes, but I mean, again, it's the fear, and there are a lot of people who truly believe that this is a thing, and we've seen it. We know it's a thing, but we also know that it could be many other things as
Mm-hmm.
well. So just bear that in mind, right? What are we
That's
looking at?
interesting with Jonathan. The X Files really helped me open my eyes on ET abductees. I know it's fiction, but there's definitely some truth behind it. The truth is out there. I agree with you. You always have to think that there has to be, at least at minimal this much reality to it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Maybe because I entered the website, the comment was deleted. I don't know which comment you were making, Chantel. I didn't see it come
You
up.
can try it again on
Yeah.
YouTube and we'll read it.
If it's here, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just see it come up. Like I said, there's 8 different streams this is on. We just see it all come up in here. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't last long because there's a lot coming through. You guys don't see it because you're only on one platform, but we have 8 platforms. It's like one big highway merging into like 2 lanes.
Yeah, so, this is host, production, and direction all in one little
so
bubble. So
it's a little bit different. So
it's fun though. This is what we wanted. It's a lot of fun.
We're trying to do more of them as per request. This is why I say, people just have to email outerrealmcontact@gmail.com, the outerrealmcontact@gmail.com. Tell us what it is that you'd like to see. We have great guests coming up for sure. A lot of amazing people coming up over the next few months. We do book quite a bit in advance, but we're trying to leave more spaces open for stuff like this because we just have so many people who are asking for it. And we like interacting with you guys. We don't always get to do that when we have guests because the show's not about us. It's about the guests. And we try to, bring you guys in on that. But it's shows like this that allow us to interact more up close and personal. And we're actually starting to have a lot of fun with it. So you'll start seeing more of them, I think.
It's a lot of fun. I learned so much from your questions as well. When they put the questions in, I'm learning every single day. I love it. I love the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to do that on Facebook because there's too much of it and I can't keep up with it. So I try to go on social media once a week and scroll through all of the news feed. But I don't know if you've noticed, Facebook only shows you the same 4 people for months now. So true. I don't see everybody's. I'm not ignoring anyone. So if you want me to see something, tag me in it. Otherwise, I won't see it. They don't let me see it in newsfeed, and I don't have the time to sit there and go on it every single day. I love the Q&A session like this. More personal and more fun. Thanks, Jonathan.
A lot of people don't realize the Outer Realm was actually conceived from a Q&A.
With Jack.
Jack Kenna, my friend Jack Kenna and I started doing this a few years ago because of Q&A. There were so many. And personally, being copyrighted, I didn't want any of my content or image being controlled by social media, aka FB. I'll leave that right there. And then it changed, and then we did go our different directions, not because we didn't like working together, but Jack was like, I'm a better guest than I am a host. It's like,
he's a great storyteller.
Right.
He's a great storyteller. Yes.
Yeah, he do.
He's a writer.
I've done radio a long time, and I still do roughly 5 or 6 shows a week, various, not all, like Outer Realm and Gray Zone are here, but there are other shows like the Paranormal Panel on Monday nights we do, and then I do other stuff too.
That's a lot of fun too.
It is a lot of fun. It definitely can be a lot of fun. So with that being said, this is sort of the Q&A thing is nice, but again, it's hard because with people who aren't tuning in, you get a lot of repetitive questions. So I always try to say, like, if you have questions, send them in advance, because if there's enough of the same sort of theme, then we can go ahead and build, a segment around that. This is sort of a melee of stuff because it is Halloween and there are a lot of people going out, and there are a lot of people take their kids out to haunted events and stuff. Some kids do great with it. I mean, I've seen little kids just get up there and get out of my way and just burst the way it went through,
I think you have to know your child. Yeah.
Oh, sure. But, here's something else that comes to children I want to mention really quick before we have to go. Parents don't realize the dangers that kids can get into with paranormal, with phone apps. There's a lot of phone apps that do just about everything. I was at a show one time, and a father and daughter were directed to come and speak with me. And the father traveled a lot. He was a professional. And, she was an only child, and they were divided family. So it was him and her. Anything this little girl wanted. I think she was like 9 or 10 years old. And she had this big fancy phone full of apps and Ouija boards. And he bought her ghost equipment, like EMF detectors, voice recorders. And the problem was, he said, she's only been doing this now for a few months. And now I've got doors opening and closing at home. Okay, the girl A is going through puberty, so that's a problem. and all of the equipment, also a problem, does not help. Lose the phone apps, because that doesn't help. So, and this was probably about like
he
3,
thought
4
nothing
years
of
ago.
it. He thought nothing of it, right?
3, 4 years ago. And I'm thinking, I
It's a
I
tough
can assist here.
Yeah,
He goes, no, she's having a good time. What?
It's a tough place to be in, because
It
he's separated and he's raising his daughter, and he wants her to be happy, and he thought nothing of it, right? So that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And then
dun, dun, dun. It happens. It happens. And parents, I think if you're not a believer, you're not a believer. Humoring your child because she loves watching, ghost shows. So you don't really think about it one way or another. You're just sort of like, let the kids have some fun. But then things start happening, and kids are like little psychics, and darker energies are very attracted to them because they're easy to manipulate. They're easy to scare. They're easy to trick. So
they're more naive.
Well, exactly. But, parents are just like, and then the child says, oh, this is going on. This is going on. Oh, of course it is. But realistically, this man was fully aware. He goes, oh, no, doors are opening and closing by themselves. I hear footsteps at night. This has only been happening the last few months. I'm like, how long has she been doing this? The last few months. Right? Maybe there's a connection.
Kind of like being a little bit pregnant, right? It only takes one time.
I know, it's true.
For a door to open. Just saying.
You're not wrong. So I don't know. People, you have to put 2 and 2 together. Again, it's a matter of being diligent. You don't have to be a believer. If your child believes it, that's all it's going to take. That's all it's going to take, because that child's going to be the one, usually it's going to be the doorway in. So just something to bear in mind. It's not all fun and games. And with media, there's a lot of shows that will tell you right off the bat, whether some kind of disclosure will say, don't try this at home, don't do it. This is a thing. And it happens. And next thing you know, it becomes a real life horror story.
Very
sad but
sad.
True. True story.
Very sad. And it doesn't end for a child when everything's cleared. That's something that stays with them their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really take that seriously. Hopefully, with all of these programs being out there, and with them spending more time with their children, especially right now being Halloween, maybe it'll create, we can only hope for greater awareness with things. And I think you really remember when our kids first because our kids started on computers when internet was very, very much in the early stages. Not giving away ages here.
Yeah. Exactly. But it is true.
Yeah. So we were told to keep an eye on them and to watch over them. And that's kind of slipped away in society. And I know this because I work with missing kids. So it has slipped away. Right. So it's very important. Remember, this is always, not necessarily this brand, this is always with your child.
And it's always on listening.
It's always on listening. They're active in different groups. Check out their apps. There's ways that you can stop them from downloading certain apps. You need to really do your research. This is your child. You don't get a second chance. So please, for their safety, as well as for the safety of their mental health and their well-being with this haunted and paranormal apps, because I have every single one of them on my phone so that I can show parents when I meet them and I tell them, when they're talking about kids and stuff. And I think it's important to keep in mind and remember that these children are very much psychic and have great abilities up until puberty. So beware of that.
Zach, I still have an AOL account.
Do you really?
So many freaking people have it. I can't get rid of it.
I've never had one. My Facebook was opened up for me by my nieces, because my nieces are not much. I was born later in life, so my nieces are very close in age to me. Not very, but like 8 years, 10 years, right? So that's pretty close. Yeah. And they opened the account for me because they wanted to connect with me because they live 2 hours away. So I wasn't on it for years before. It was open for 3 years before I was really on it. They were on it.
I know. It's insane. Yeah. How do you, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a good one.
Okay. Need glasses. No age telling here. But anyways, Jonathan asks, how do you tell your kids that their imaginary friend is actually an uninvited guest without scaring them? It's very delicate. And I'm giving this one to Michelle because she handled that. More than once.
It is really difficult because children do see everything. Animals see everything. I always tell people who will message me and think there's something in the house. I'm like, how are your children reacting? How are your pets reacting? Usually your children know when they have a friend, an imaginary friend isn't so imaginary. They know usually that it's something that's not supposed to be there, especially if, they're saying to the child, don't tell your mom and dad because, they're going to make me go away. They really have a way of making the child feel very special. And that child does not want to anger or scare off the friend. So they don't come off as being really scary. That comes as they root themselves. Once the invite's been made, then you see them start to show their true colors. But it is very, very delicate. There's a lot of situations out there, and children get victimized because they're innocent. They're trusting. They're easy to manipulate, and you do get things out there that are just very, very sneaky.
This is a different kind of intruder. You can't see it. You can't see it.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So,
there's Phil.
Hi, Philip. We'll have to bring you and Julia on one
back
to
on.
Tell everybody about your experiences. So
definitely.
That would be fun. But yeah, so I think with that being said, that we end up, when it comes to the kids will tell it like it is. But the kids are usually the ones that are going to be in the forefront of everything. So don't be so quick to discount their experiences, because they usually will, they usually are the ones that are targeted first. I like my imaginary friends. Yes, Wayne, we know.
So you're not talking to yourself.
No, exactly.
I thought you were talking to yourself.
Exactly.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And with that being said, guys, we are at the end of our show again, and it's been a whole lot of fun. I loved communicating with everybody. We're gonna do, we'll do at least one more of these by the end of the year. So we're really that booked up. Side note, yes, sorry, Michelle, I know this might sound weird, but my cat's scared. Many of those things when I was little. Aw. Yeah. Let me just put this up for people to see.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. My son, my cat's scared. Many of those things when I was little. Cats are actually supposed to be protectors. And it's said that malevolent entities are supposed to be frightened of them.
Yes. Yeah, so, I heard you say that on a show.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read that a few times. It's like, wow. So Here we go. We'll put in segment before we do our formal.
Yes. You want me to read it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Great show tonight. I always love these group chats. We love you, Zach. Have a good night, everybody, and see you all tomorrow night. Zach is our #1 fan. He and Wayne.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with that being
Yes.
said, for real now, we have come to the end of another fantastic segment of the Outer Realm. Thank you to everybody in chat. You guys are bloody awesome. This was so much fun. Really, really starting to really dig this. This is something that's going to be a thing. Maybe
Right?
maybe
so
even a
much
once a month
fun.
thing.
It's
starting
so
to be
much
that
fun.
good. I know. So huge thank you to our producer Joe Montaldo. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee, who do sponsor us. Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, thank you. We appreciate your music and your voice. And remember to stop by our group pages, Outer Realm. Come on, go show us some love, follow us, and don't forget the network, International Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio. Go and subscribe, and you'll be able to catch us next week. Again, contact us at the Outer Realm contact@gmail.com. The Outer Realm contact@gmail.com. Tell us what you like. We'll try to accommodate. Tune in tomorrow night as we welcome for the very first time Mr. John Russell. He's going to be discussing the paranormal, doppelgangers, and how guardian angels helped him with health issues. So until then, Amelia and I thank you for joining us tonight, especially the folks in chat, and have a fantastic night. We'll see you all tomorrow.
You have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.